Holidays are meant to be filled with joy, warmth, and togetherness, but for so many of us who've lost a beloved dog or cat, this season can feel heavier, quieter, and painfully different. Grief has a way of showing up in the quiet moments, the empty spot on the couch, the Christmas stocking we can't bear to hang, the traditions that now feel incomplete. Today's episode is dedicated to every single person navigating that kind of heartbreak. You're not alone. And there is a way to move through this season with tenderness, permission, and love. I'm honored to welcome someone who brings light into one of life's darkest experiences. Beth Biglar, a compassionate pet loss grief counselor who has walked beside countless people on their healing journey. If this time of year feels hard, this conversation is for you. As we are getting closer to the holiday season, I wanted to end the year with this special episode because, like you, I've suffered loss and it hurts every single day. Holidays are hard, so I hope this conversation will bring you some peace and comfort. I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. I will forever honor my Max. Keep him in my thoughts, and I know you will with your pets as well. I love you, Maxie. Happy holidays, and thanks for listening. This will be the last episode of the year. Thank you for making it such a success. Welcome to A Dog's Devotion, the heartfelt podcast for every dog lover. Here, we celebrate the unbreakable bond between humans and their dogs. Each week, we sit down with inspiring guests who share powerful stories of love, resilience, and devotion. From the joy of adoption to the heartbreak of loss and the healing that follows, this is a space where we honor our best friends, the ones who leave paw prints on our hearts forever. Welcome back to A Dog's Devotion, the podcast created in honor of my best friend Max, and for all dog lovers who understand just how deep the bond truly goes. Here we talk about love, loss, healing, and the incredible devotion our dogs bring into our lives. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by the amazing Beth Biglar, a pet loss grief counselor whose work has comforted and guided so many who are grieving their furry soulmates. Beth understands the unique pain of losing a dog, or in her case, a cat, and the emotional waves that follow, especially during the holidays, when memories feel sharper and the absence feels bigger. Today, we'll explore how to honor your grief, how to care for your heart, and how to keep your dog's love woven into the season in the gentlest way possible. Beth, once again, you've been on the show before. We had a great response. It just seemed perfect that you come on the show during the holiday season. I know you're busy, so I appreciate your time, but this is a hard time for people.
The hardest. I think the holidays are hard, whether or not we are grieving, especially as we get older, different pressures, different expectations, grief, and so I think already we have a lot of pressure in the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
If you are grieving a beloved during this time, it is extra tricky. So I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to talk about this, share, validate, get some ideas going, because this is a very hard time of year for so many.
I know, and I get so many comments and responses from listeners saying, where can we go for help during the holiday season, or people who have just lost their pet and, they just need some support. So this is perfect. The holidays aren't always a sad time. I mean, they can be very joyful for many, but deeply painful for anyone, as we're saying, who is grieving a pet. Why do you think this time of year is especially difficult for pet parents who've experienced a loss?
Well, there's so many things, but one of the reasons is that we have so many traditions this time of year. And so when our beloved is not there for all the traditions, all the rituals, all the gatherings where, our dogs are a part of all of that. So automatically the absence feels magnified because every single tradition, ritual, gathering has been impacted by their presence. And, especially at Christmas time, we have excitement about wrapping paper. We have scraps under the table. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on that will happen this year. And we will notice that our beloved is not there to enjoy them. Yeah. And then, of course, our cultural pressure to be joyful and festive. And, if you are creating holiday magic, if you have little ones around, you might feel pressured about creating magic for others. You might feel pressured about showing up to see your family. And that always can create different expectations, especially if you have any kind of tension with your family. So you are already carrying a lot of pressure from society, pressure from yourself, and now you're carrying grief as well.
Right.
So those are some of the reasons, and there's many reasons, but I think those are some of the biggest ones that impact us this time of year.
I also notice for myself, speaking, because Max, this will be the second Christmas without Max. The first one was really hard because there were so many triggers.
Yes.
Taking him to go get his photo taken with Santa Claus. I've got photos on my phone of him with the Santa Claus hat on and tinsel wrapped around him and buying him a stocking. And so those were emotional triggers for me. I'm sure people experience other different types of triggers that just, take you off the deep end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The sounds of this season, certain
Yeah.
songs, right? We have smells. There are a lot of like Christmas smells. You might smell pine, you might smell cookies, right? The lights, the Christmas lights can be, very enhanced in our minds.
Right.
So I think like there's so many sensory elements about especially Christmas time that really trigger us on a very deep level. And of course, what you're talking about, well, last year it was this way.
Mhm.
And I remember this time last year. I remember this time how it used to be. And because there's so much repetition in the holidays, we are constantly remembering and we are acutely aware of all of that. It once was different than this. And that contrast is very activating for many of us.
Right. So you think because we have these traditions, like we go see our family when we get a tree, decorating, traveling, family gatherings, these can all intensify feelings of absence, then is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because our brains are wired to compare, a lot of times. So we
Yeah.
are always comparing one experience to another. That's kind of like one of the things our brains do to make sense of the world. And so, of course, this kind of comparison can feel really hard, particularly about rituals that in the past have brought us so much joy and so
Hmm.
much excitement. And, all my clients who say, oh, I always look forward to, having Max open his stocking, or I always look forward to Arnie clawing up the wrapping paper and all of that. And so now you feel like, well, what do I do? What do I do with all my
Yeah.
rituals and traditions? And can there even be joy? Many of my clients say, I just want to fast forward till the middle of January because
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
And I get that. The first Christmas was just horrific. I mean, I can already feel this one is going to be sad. It's not as bad. The first one is always the worst.
So, well, sometimes, although sometimes a
Um,
lot of my clients, it's a blur. The first one for a lot of
Yeah.
people, like, especially depending on when the loss was, like
Right.
they don't even, like in a fog, and for some people, the second one feels like it's harder because the
Oh,
first one, they either were just
absolutely.
like, I'm skipping, I'm opting out completely, I'm not doing any of that, right? And then the second one for some people is also super hard because maybe the first holiday season was just sort of like you're out of it. So
Right.
it can go both ways.
Great. So then what are some practical grounding techniques that we can use in those moments when grief hits unexpectedly?
Yeah. Well, number one, let's make space for it. Let's
Yeah.
honor that it's coming with us to Christmas. It's coming with us to New Year's. By the way, we don't want to sleep on New Year's. I want to make sure we talk about New Year's because New Year's hits sometimes even harder than Christmas. So we'll talk about
Right.
New Year's. So we're going to make space. We're going to know on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, solstice, whatever holiday dates are important to you, we're going to carve out time for ourselves to nurture our grief. We're going to prioritize some self care, prioritize taking breaks from the action. I want you to get up and get away from the table. Go splash cold water on your face in the bathroom or take a walk around the block. Start thinking in advance. What are some carve out breaks I can take? What is some time I can spend with my grief, with my beloved? What can I do to feel connected to my beloved? Now we'll talk about some specifics for how to weave them into our holiday.
Hmm.
But for you and your beloved, do you like writing letters to them? Do you like going for a walk in their sacred place? Do you like cuddling up with their bed and listening to your favorite songs? I want you to make time to connect in with your beloved. I don't care how you do it. Do a meditation, light a candle, say some words, but I want you to make time for your beloved. I want you to make time for your grief. And I want you to make a permission slip that you can experience the holiday however you like. You don't have to feel festive. You don't have to put on a happy face. Make sure you are honoring whatever's coming up for you. And
Right.
if you don't feel like doing something, I want you to skip it. You have a permission slip for me to skip it because sometimes we are being asked to do too much in the holiday season when we're grieving, and it's okay to say no. No is a complete sentence.
Right. So when you say making space for grief, you mean actually feeling that feeling, taking your time for yourself and honoring your grief, your loss,
Yeah,
and your pet and doing something for them.
absolutely. Doing something for them, doing something with them. Sometimes Then this may sound funny, but some of you out there are going to understand what I'm saying. Sometimes I even encourage people, if you feel like the holiday, whatever day it is going to feel like a bottled up experience,
Mhm.
you have like this welling in your body all day and you just come home and you want to sob. I tell some of my clients, why don't you do that ugly cry before you even go to Christmas dinner? Curl up, put on a song, watch a video, give yourself that space to let those tears come out if crying feels supportive to you, or go and scream into a pillow, before the gathering. Whatever you need to do on that day to support your grief. Supporting our grief and grief expressions look different day to day. We need different things day to day. But I tell a lot of people, let's make some space to honor, hey, I'm grieving. It's okay, I'm grieving. I'm allowed to grieve even on Christmas, and I'm making room for it. I'm going to let my grief take up some space on Christmas and New
Right. And
Year's.
you bring up a really great point because families get together and everybody's under the pressure of being cheerful, especially around your family. So you had to put on a happy face and you had to be festive. Meanwhile, you're dying inside. How can someone communicate their emotional needs to their family or their friends without feeling guilty about how they're feeling? If they're not happy, I mean, let's face it, you're not happy. You're
Well,
sad.
yes, and right, this is sticky because we got to remember too that joy and grief can exist side by side. So for some people, they are feeling joyful, they're feeling festive, they're enjoying the moment. And sometimes people even feel guilty for enjoying the moment. So
Yeah.
I want to also remind everybody, joy and grief can coexist. This is a both and moment. Dr. Pauline Boss kind of coined this idea of both and. Christmas and the holidays bring up a lot of both and experiences. So if you are, by the way, experiencing joy at Christmas, that's okay too. You can be joyful and happy and grieving at the same time. That's allowed. So remember that whatever you're feeling, you might be having a both and experience. However, when we are having a tough space, listen, this is also tricky because not everybody is a safe space to talk about our grief with. Not everybody is
Right.
going to receive our grief. We are in such a grief intolerant culture in general, and a lot of our families are very grief intolerant, that kind of what I would tell you to do there would depend on your exact situation. But in general, if you are safe with the people you're going to be with, I like to give a heads up in advance. I like to send a text in advance. This is my first Christmas, without my beloved Earthside. I'm really feeling my grief really intensely right now. So heads up, I may need to step away if I feel overwhelmed. Also, I would love to talk about my beloved at Christmas.
Mhm.
Please bring them up. Please ask me about them. Please share a memory about them. I might cry. It's okay if I cry. Crying is just part of my grief expression. I would love a hug, or I would love
Right.
an affirmation, or whatever. Use your own words. I always, around the holidays, I post like sample text messages to send people in
Yeah.
advance, because I think people who love us and care about us, they want to know how to help, and we can help them help us by giving them a heads up, saying, hey, here's some of the things I'm going to be doing to cope, and here's some of the things you can do to help me. So first of all, I would say anybody that it feels safe to send that text to, do that advance work, right? And then, you got to think about your boundaries. You got to think about, what are some of my own boundaries? When are moments that I might want to step away? When are
Right.
moments I might want to mask? Here's the other thing. It's okay to go to a family gathering and not bring it up. It's okay to not go into detail about your grief. Privacy can be a very protective and supportive grief choice. So, some people say, well, I feel guilty if I'm not saying exactly how I'm feeling, but it might not be safe to do that there. So I
Yeah.
think, doing some advance work with the people who love and care about you, as we'll talk about, incorporating your beloved into gatherings is great, because that is you opening the door for other people to talk about them and ask about them, so they're not so nervous about, bringing up your grief. And
Right.
then, of course, setting boundaries where you need to set boundaries. If someone says, well, aren't you going to get another puppy for Christmas?
Mhm.
Prepare in advance what you're going to say to that. You might say something like, thanks for thinking of me. I'm not ready to welcome another family member. I'll let you know when or if that changes. Thanks for
Right.
understanding. Right. And so thinking ahead of like, okay, what are some like boundaries and limits that I want to set? And here's the truth though, as much as we prepare, as much as we work these tools,
Mhm.
we're learning. We're learning on the go. You've never been through a holiday like this before. This is
Right.
new, right? Even if it's your
Right.
second one. Every year we learn how to handle these significant milestone dates differently. So try some things out. And after the holiday, check in with yourself. What felt supportive to me this Christmas? What felt good? What didn't feel good? What would I have liked more of? What would I have liked less of? And make notes about that for
Mm.
yourself, because you're not going to remember.
Yeah.
So then you kind of can go over it with yourself and say, so for the next big family gathering, whenever that is, I have some new ideas for how to support myself. It will take a long time to learn how to truly be supportive on these big holidays. I'm still learning, you know.
Yeah.
We don't get it right, quote right, the first time. So just be open also to like, this is an opportunity for me to learn, to experiment, and to see what feels supportive to me.
Right. Do you have clients that feel guilty because they're enjoying their Christmas, or they're not doing what they think they should be doing to honor their pets? Like, does that come up with your clients?
Well, yeah, guilt's pretty much the number one thing that people come to me for. You know, most of the clients I work with are already struggling with guilt around their beloved's transition because this kind of grief brings up so much guilt. So we spend a lot of time working on all kinds of aspects of guilt. But of course, it's that, how can I laugh at a joke? How can I, be excited to win the ugly sweater Christmas contest, right?
Right.
When I'm grieving and my beloved isn't here to see it. And this is where we have to really check in with ourselves with one very important question, which is, who taught you that? Who taught you that you can't have a laugh when you're grieving? Who taught you that you can't feel happy while you're grieving? It's back to that both and idea. We don't know much about grief. We're very death phobic in our culture. And a
No, we
lot of the
can't
ideas
share.
we have about, what grief looks like or what it's supposed to look like, they're wrong. They're not backed up with any evidence. And they're self-critical judgments that you have. And you probably have those self-critical judgments about a lot of parts of your life, not just Christmas. So a good interrogation of like, well, who taught me that I can't go sing karaoke at the Christmas Carol party? Why can't that be a grief expression?
Right.
Right. And if you ask that question very often, be like, well, I guess I don't know anyone who taught me that. And so I'm going to write myself a permission slip to allow joy to be part of my grief expression. By the way, your life with your dog,
Yeah.
when your dog was earthside, was filled with joy, laughter,
Mhm.
shenanigans, adventures, fun, like playful awakening of your inner child. Your life with your beloved was not defined by sadness, sorrow, grief, heaviness. So I always feel like when I'm doing something that is celebratory, that's fun, that's joyful, I'm in alignment with my soulmate Arnie. We are in alignment with our beloveds and their gifts and their guidance and their hopes and dreams for us when we are joyful. So I think of that.
Okay, so that's a good thing to think about when you're starting to feel guilty about enjoying yourself. It's okay because you enjoyed yourself with your pet and they would want to be with you enjoying yourself too, right?
I can't speak for anyone else's beloveds. Only you can speak for your beloved. You know
Yeah.
what Max's hopes and dreams are for you. I know what Arnie's hopes and dreams are for me. But if we check in with those and say, would Arnie want me to go, put on my best tacky cat, Christmas
Mm.
outfit and enjoy the party? My Arnie would tell me, yes, go have fun and have some eggnog for me.
Yeah. I love your book.
Thank
We
you.
talked about it last time, honoring our animals. And you had a very interesting Instagram post very recently because I see I'm not the only one that loves your book. You had a Hollywood legend, Ed Bigley Jr., was
Yeah.
on your Instagram talking about your book and his pet mausoleum, which surprised me. What was that like? I mean,
So beautiful.
clearly grief has no boundaries. It doesn't matter who you are. What was it like speaking to him and it was his daughter on, I believe, on there.
Yeah, Hayden. Yes, Hayden
Yeah.
and Ed. I did want to say something about my book, which I so appreciated. My overwhelming feeling about that is, what validation. Thank you, Ed,
Yeah.
for speaking up and speaking out publicly about the importance of honoring our beloveds. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to have a room that is filled with ashes of our beloveds. It's okay to hold those ashes close to our chest and talk about how amazing our beloveds are. I was so moved to have him just validate that so publicly and
Mhm.
so fully. And I hope my dream for anyone who watched that said, all right, there's a permission slip for me. If it's okay for Ed to hold his beloved's ashes close and celebrate him in that way and all of his beloveds, then it's okay for me to do that too. So
Right.
I was very grateful. I'm very grateful when any public figure chooses to help normalize and validate and empower grieving guardians. And more celebrities are doing this all the time. He's not the only one. And I know that every time that someone who has a large platform speaks up and speaks out that, hey, this grief is real, it's profound, your grief matters, honoring your beloveds matters, whenever anybody does that, I think we're removing a layer of stigma from this disenfranchised grief. And someday, if enough people do that, we won't even have to call it a disenfranchised grief, because everyone will know that when a beloved transitions, it's real grief, it's profound, and we're going to show up and support them just like if it were any other human family member,
Right.
which is my dream.
Yeah. But until that happens, what advice do you have for someone whose family or friends don't understand the depth of their pet loss and the grief that they're feeling.
Well, listen, not everybody's going to get it. And I bet anybody listening has already encountered some of that. There are going to be people who don't get it. And we know that going in. So, what we want to do is we want to find people who do get it. We want to
Right.
find places where we can go and feel seen and witnessed and heard. Fortunately, because of social media, because of online communities, we have a lot of opportunities to be in community with other people who get it. And, continuing to go try to get people to understand who don't understand is like going to the hardware store for milk, right?
Right.
People, if they don't get it, they're not going to get it. We don't need to convince them. We need to try to find places where we can find community. So that's why like a lot of people come to my Instagram at Honoring Our Animals, because we have all these conversations going on every single day in the comments. I have all these live events that we do. I do memorial services. I do live events on every single holiday, including Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So you can be around people who get it, who validate you. I have a lot of people that come to those lives. They step out of Christmas dinner and they're hiding in the bathroom watching the Christmas live because it's the only validation they're going to get for the day, right?
Right.
So finding community is so important. And, pay attention when somebody does a kind gesture for you in your grief. I get stories from my clients all the time. I had a coworker and we're not very friendly, but she brought me these wind chimes for my beloved. And
Mm.
she talked about when her cat transitioned and how lonely she was. And you know what? I'm going to go to lunch with her next week and get to know her better. Oftentimes, grief illuminates people who can be there for us, who can show up for us.
True.
And sometimes we don't kind of notice that because we're in pain and it's hard to kind of take that on board. But I always say, keep your eyes peeled. There are connections that are going to open up for you within this grief. And you may even find some new people that are going to become very important to your life. And of course, some of us feel like our beloveds bring those people to us. And so, be on the lookout for people who do get it and put your energy there.
Right. That's a really good point. I've had a few people that I don't know personally, but have followed the show and follow me on Instagram and have sent me gifts. I had one beautiful woman send me a pair of little wings, and in the middle was a heart with Max's name on it, which I wear all the time. And then my
She gets
partner,
it. She gets it,
yeah,
right?
she totally gets it because she just lost her dog and she just understood. The other one is I keep this necklace on all the time, and my partner got this for me because I was just a wreck after Max, but it's specifically designed. It's got a heart.
Mm-hmm.
Some of Max's ashes are actually in here,
Beautiful.
and there's an M at the top. So this is, something that's very special to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of nice to have that.
It's amazing. And there are people who show up and there are people who do get it, even in unlikely places. And there are many people, who go through this who kind of step back and take stock of their relationships, because some people end up being very hurtful. And some people really disappoint us or let us down. And of course, if that's unusual for that person, I always like to clear the air about that. But sometimes we just sort of see people's limitations. Grief is a great revealer of limitations, right? So it's very powerful in grief when you're feeling alone and like no one gets it. When someone does, when you see that opening, you see that glimmer, pursue it. Invite
Yeah.
more of that in.
Yeah, interesting. Now, we talked about some of the traditions over the Christmas holidays.
Yeah.
Do you recommend keeping our old traditions or starting new ones after losing a pet?
I love this question. You got 4 options there, right?
Okay.
Keep it exactly the way it's always been. You can modify it, right? Because
Yeah.
maybe we keep it, but we modify it in a different way, which I got lots of ideas about that. We can do something entirely new that we haven't done before, or maybe take something out of our childhood we used to do and bring that in, or we can skip it entirely. Those are the 4 options I like for all of us to think about. And I encourage people, make a whole list. Make a list of all the traditions, make a list of all the rituals, make a list of all the things, and like go through each one and make a note. Do I want to keep? Do I want to modify? Do I want to skip? Sometimes that's really helpful to kind of give us a framework for like, what am I up for? But I recommend to any of those rituals where your beloved was included, let's see how we can include them. One of my very favorite rituals that I'm known for is to create an entire memorial tree for your beloved. Some people do like a mini tree. Some people do a whole big tree. I have an amazing tree for Arnie. It's bright orange because Arnie is orange. That's his signature color. So my tree is bright orange for Arnie, and I have dozens of ornaments. I actually have a couple here I can show you. I brought some of them. And the entire tree are ornaments that remind me of Arnie. And so I have everything from a beautiful ornament for the state of California, because that's where Arnie born and raised, in California.
Yep.
So I have that. Of course, I have beautiful photo ornaments, different things he loves. One of my favorite things you can do with ornaments is you can get these on Amazon. So this is a
Oh, I
clear
see.
globe. This is a clear globe that you can fill yourself. So I filled this clear globe with Arnie's favorite crinkle toys. He loved these toys when he was
Oh,
Earthside. And of course, I put the orange ribbon on it because that's his color. And
yeah.
you can get these empty and fill them yourself with your beloved's favorite things. And it's so personal. You can put any of their family heirlooms in there. This is a beautiful one I got. This is actually his name. Over and over, it says Arnie. It's in
Oh,
cursive,
that's
so it says
beautiful.
Arnie. But it just looks like a beautiful ornament. You can have so much fun figuring out what ornaments you want to put on your tree. Many of my clients have an entire tree devoted to their beloved. In fact, a lot of my clients on the transition date anniversary each month, one of their self-care things that they do is they buy a new ornament on that transition anniversary every month. So by the end of the year, they've got 12 ornaments and
Right.
12 new ornaments for the tree. I also love with the stockings. Many people say, well, I don't know, do I put the stocking up? Do I fill
Hmm.
it? Do I not fill it? And I always say, listen, if you loved buying Christmas presents for your beloved, keep buying the presents. Buy them. You can wrap them. You can stick them in their stocking, and you can decide later, do you want to donate them? Do you want to give them to another dog in your life? So that's an example of, we keep the tradition, we modify a little bit. Another thing I love with the stockings is I love doing stocking notes. So I love to hang the stocking and then get I like doing it on photographs, but you can do it on note cards too. Little photographs about this size. Here's
Oh,
Mr. Handsome Pants himself. So
that's
you get a
Arnie.
few different. There's Arnie, and there's Arnie and Zelda, my other kitty. There's
Right.
Arnie nursing me through a surgery I was having. But what I like to do with these little notes is write notes on the back of them. I love to write little love notes on the back of each photo. And whenever you walk by the stocking, just stick a love note in the stocking. Maybe it's a memory you
That's
have about
a great idea.
Christmas. Maybe it's something you want to say. Maybe it's a little poem you want to write, or maybe it's just a list of all their goofy nicknames. I like to put those in the stocking. And if you have other family members who want to contribute, you can do that. And then on Christmas morning or Christmas Eve, whenever you want, or New Year's Day, you can take out all the stocking notes and read them out loud and include your beloved in that way. And pro tip, at the end of the season, put all those notes in the bottom of the stocking, wrap them up. And the next year you'll have those to read plus your next ones, which is
Right.
super fun. So that's what I mean by, modifying a tradition, or it's a new Christmas tree, but we're keeping the tradition of having a tree. Again, this is navigating. We're figuring out what feels supportive. But I
Right.
love doing these little kinds of honoring activities that become something we can tend to, something we can nurture, something we can be excited about. I have a couple clients who have, at my suggestion, they do like an ornament party around this time of year. And so bring an ornament that reminds you of my beloved and come trim the tree. And that's become a tradition for several of my clients. And it's a way to sort of honor them, and people think it's really fun. So, it can also be something for your community to help support you as well. So those are a
Yeah.
couple ideas. I got lots of ideas though. Basically on my Instagram from after Thanksgiving on, it's pretty much daily ideas about Christmas and New Year's and how to
I've
support
seen
it.
that. So let's mention your Instagram account now because it is really full of some great helpful tips.
Sure. My Instagram is at honoring our animals, at honoring our animals. And I do monthly memorial services where anyone can submit their beloved's name and hear it read out loud during the service, which is
Yeah.
really impactful. I will be live on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day, giving support ideas and validation for anything you're
And
experiencing.
can
And
anybody join?
everybody can join. Yeah, anybody who wants to join. I always put a list for the memorial service. I put a call for names. So you just fill out a little form. So I have your name and your beloved's name because I say both of your names together.
Yeah.
But my lives I promote this year, they're all going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern on all of those days. And anybody can log on and just hear what I have to say. I try to give a lot of practical tips and ideas and tools and things we can use. And also just a space to express, a space to remember, a space to honor our beloveds. Sometimes we can get through all holiday gathering with our family and no one even said our beloved's name once. And
Right.
so it's important that we have a space to honor them. And even in some of those lives, I'll say your beloved's name out loud right now so you can hear it, because we all know that's our favorite sound in the entire world. So yes,
100%.
everybody is welcome for all of those lives.
Now you also have something else that you mentioned to me. You've got the 12 days.
Yes. Oh, I have a
But
wonderful thing happening right
okay.
now. It's called the 12 Days of Honoring, inspired by the 12 Days of Christmas. And you can sign up for that on my Instagram. You can send me a message about it. It's I'm posting it every day. So if you just look at any of my posts and you type in HOA 12 Days, I'll send you the link to join. And I've created this whole experience for honoring our beloveds for 12 full days for Christmas. So you get an email basically every other day with some ideas, some journaling prompts, some things you can do and share either publicly or privately to support you in the season, looking at different parts of our grief, ways to include our beloved and support them. And right now, it's so fun because people are sharing what they're doing as part of the experience, and I'm posting people's photos, and I'm just seeing the cutest all kinds of things from all over the world of how people are honoring their beloveds. So it's a wonderful thing to be a part of. Anybody can join. And I will be doing this kind of thing in the future too. So if you're listening to this later, look around other holidays. I'll be doing this kind of honoring experience as well.
Right. This must give you so much satisfaction and joy knowing that you're helping so many people navigate through this really difficult period.
Well, my soulmate Arnie helped me navigate through the most difficult and most challenging experiences of my life. And I would not be who I am, nor would I probably be sitting here if he hadn't come into my life and given me so many rich gifts, guidance, lessons, teachings, support, validation, feelings of enoughness. So if I can even do that for one person, I feel like I am carrying his legacy. I am making him proud. I am taking those gifts that he's given me and I'm carrying them into the world in his honor. And so it brings me tremendous connection and also deep thrill whenever we're helping anybody, because we're doing it together.
Hmm.
It's a collaboration that we are
Yeah.
continuing to do.
I mentioned your book off the top, but also, I mean, it's meditations for every day of the year, 365 days. And so there's some great ones for December the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, all the way through until New Year's Eve.
That's right. And then you can
Yeah,
start the book all over again, January 1,
that's
because
right.
we
And so,
start
where can people get the book?
anywhere books are sold. It's published by a major publisher. It's published by Quarto, so you can get it at your local indie bookstore or bookshop.org. You can also find it, of course, in places like Barnes and Noble, Shakespeare and Co., and Amazon, and any major book retailer that exists has it or can order it. So
Right.
definitely check it out. It makes a wonderful gift. You know, anybody you know that
I
is
think so
grieving.
too.
Yeah, it's really a powerful gift book. It can be something you keep on your nightstand, and you can read it at the start of the day, at the end of the day. A lot of my clients, a lot of my people who like the book keep it on their beloved's altar, like with the ashes, and they go every day and they read out loud the entry. And each page has a meditation plus an invitation, which is like a little action step, something you can do or try to support your grief, support your connection. So a lot of people like to what's our invitation today, Arnie? What are we going to
Right.
do? And so it becomes a tradition you can do with your beloved as well.
I want to switch things around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking about our own grief and how we deal with our grief. But what if we have a friend who is grieving a pet
Mm.
this holiday season? What are the most supportive words or actions that we can offer them?
Well, the most supportive word, should I give you a quiz? What's the most supportive word? It's their
The most
beloved's name. Use their beloved's name.
beloved's name.
Use their beloved's name over and over. They're never going to get tired of hearing it. So when you're talking to them or you're texting them, I'm thinking of you and Arnie. I'm thinking about you and Max.
Right.
Use their beloved's name. If you have a photo, even if you don't have a photo, if you have from their social media, take a screenshot of a photo, send the photo. I love the way Max looks in this photo. This photo from last Christmas is so cute, right? Something like that. Also, do something kind, drop off a meal,
Right.
show up and shovel their driveway if you got snow, right? Just do something. You don't need to visit with them. They may not feel like talking. Just show up with an action and don't ask, what can I do to help? Just show up and do something to help.
Are,
When, oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead, please.
Well, when Christmas comes, I'm thinking of you today and I'm holding you in my heart. Or I'm thinking of you and Max today and I'm holding you in my heart. You can say, how's upcoming Christmas feeling for you? They
Right.
don't need to answer, but maybe that's an opening, maybe that's a way. And, if you have a friend who's expressing like, oh, I feel guilty when I'm doing this, or remind them like there's no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm here for you. Whatever you need, I'm listening. I'm holding you in my heart. I'm holding them in my heart, right? You don't need to fix it if you're a friend. You can't. This
No.
cannot be fixed.
Right.
Hold it with them. Show up with them. Listen. Use their beloved's name. And by the way, Christmas is hard. New Year's is really hard. Reach out on New Year's, but also February 1st. March 1st, April 1st. Put a reminder in your calendar. If you have a friend who is grieving a beloved, pick a date and just check in on them every single month. Send them that same text. I'm thinking of you and Max today. That, grief is not a one-day experience. It's not a holiday experience. It's every day of the year. That's why my book has meditations for every single day, because people who are grieving every day. So reach out all the time, not just around the holidays. And that'll put you right at the top of the most supportive people in their lives. Most of my clients say they feel supported for about a week or two. And after that, it feels like crickets.
Yeah, because the first week or two after Max, I got so many messages, but there was only a select few friends that reached out constantly after, just gently saying, how are you doing? Thinking about Max, remembered when we went skating and Max was there.
Yes.
And so that's really, it's very helpful. You're right. It is
Totally.
very helpful.
Yeah. And how are you doing today? Or
Right.
how's today feeling is sometimes really nice, because sometimes the how are you doing, it feels like so overwhelming. So sometimes if you narrow it to like today, that sometimes for some people feels a little easier.
Right.
Yeah.
What words of comfort would you give to anyone listening who is entering their first holiday season without their beloved pet? And you've given us lots of advice in the last 30 minutes, but is there something specific that they can think about other than saying their name out loud, which I'll pass the next quiz you give me. Yeah.
I'm just teasing you, Carla. You're holding a lot of information over there too. Your grief is valid. Your grief is profound. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Lower the bar for what feels like success or, magic during the season, like showing up. Surviving this is enough. Rest, nourish, and hydrate. And speak to yourself the way your beloved would always speak to you, with tenderness and patience and understanding. Give yourself that same deep, compassionate, understanding love. Receive that love from them and allow it to support you as you move with this holiday season.
Okay. Well, great advice as always, Beth. Thank you.
You are so welcome. And I'm sending a big holiday hug to every pet griever all over the world.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It is difficult. But I want to thank you for joining me, helping my listeners navigate this difficult time. As I said, your book is a great resource, and I think it's a great gift for somebody who has just lost a beloved pet, whether it's a cat or a dog. It's amazing. So thank you. And again, I want to thank all of my listeners for listening. This has been a very tender and meaningful conversation. A very special thank you to you, Beth Biglar, for sharing your wisdom, compassion, and your comforting presence with all of us today. If you're grieving this holiday season, please remember you don't have to be okay. You don't have to pretend. Your grief is valid, your love is real, and your heart is doing the best it can. Hold your memories close. Speak their name. As Beth said, I'll be speaking Max's. I speak Max's name every day. Light a candle, and I do that too. Look for signs. I do that too. And know that the love you shared with your dog didn't end. It simply changed form. From my heart to yours, and from Max's spirit guiding every episode, thank you for being part of this community. And I'm going to cry before I end this. Wishing you gentleness, comfort, and love this holiday season. Thanks, Beth, for joining me.
And thank you, Max.
And thank you, Arnie. And thank you for listening. I'm Carla Basaki, and this has been A Dog's Devotion. Happy holidays. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on A Dog's Devotion. If today's story touched your heart, share it with a fellow dog lover. And remember, whether they're by your side or watching over you, our dogs are our greatest teachers of love, loyalty, and living in the moment. Until next time, give your pup an extra hug and never forget the devotion of a dog. I'm your host, Carla Basaki. Thanks for joining me.